I'm going to go ahead and click to record. This is awesome to see so many people here tonight on a Wednesday at 5:30. There are people that are still joining, so I hope I get to catch all of those. I am going to pin Teresa Prince. I'd like to welcome Teresa Prince. She is our new guidance counselor. She will be here 2 days a week, so I wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity to meet her. And she may be checking in with some families, and she will be working with students. We also have Amy. Let me see, let me find Amy. Amy is going to be joining us too. I'm not seeing Amy. There's Amy. I will pin her video so everyone can see Amy. She's going to be working with students too in our school. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to introduce our new staff. I'm not sure who Galaxy Note is. Sometimes when I have had difficulties with sound, if I log off or shut down my computer or phone and then restart it, then I do have the audio works. So you may want to try that. And I am going to, oh, awesome. I'm going to share my screen. And we're going to start. I'm going to beg forgiveness. I'm not a professional videographer by no means, but this is a very short look into what a day in the life of a 2020 student might look like. Hello, welcome to a day in the life of a 2020 student. As we get off the bus or step out of our car, we stay 6 feet apart and maintain social distance and walk to the front door of the school. As soon as we go in the door, there is a table, and we will use hand sanitizer and have our temperature checked and do a health screening. Let's go on down and let's see what life might be like in a kindergarten or first grade classroom. Here is our kindergarten room. Students are safely socially distancing. We have a table with a plexiglass shield divider for the teacher to work with students. This is what life would look like in a 3rd or 4th grade classroom. Students' desks are socially distanced. We do have a divider for a teacher to work with students. Students will be eating their lunch in the classroom.
Buses will be a little different this year. Hi, Mr. Hebron.
Hello.
Well, how is buses going to be a little different this year?
Well, this year you may not have the same bus you have always had, or the same driver you have always had. The buses will pick up and go directly to the school that you're going to, and then they'll take you back directly to your house. If you approach the bus without a mask, we will offer you a mask. If you refuse to wear the mask, you will not be transported. You'll be left and called, your parents will be called. Also, there's sanitizer. You'll be asked to sanitize your hands before you enter the bus. You'll be asked to fill from the back of the bus forward. 1 person per seat, unless you have a brother or a sister.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you have to. Recess. Playground is closed, but we will have recess in zones. We will have masks and mindfulness.
So there's going to be no playground?
So that kind of gives you a glimpse into what life is going to be like. It is a lot different, but I'm very excited to start our new school year. The administrators in the district have worked extremely hard all summer long to prepare for reopening of school, and safety has been our top priority throughout this planning process. We are happy to have your child back in school, whether they're here in person or whether they're remote. We are committed to providing a safe and supportive learning environment while partnering with your family. There are some important dates that I want to make sure parents are aware of. This week is laptop pickup week. If you've missed your assigned day, you can go on Friday. We want all students, kindergarten through 8th grade, to have a device. Kindergarten will have iPads. If the students are working remotely, then they will use that device to work at home. If they're in person, then they will bring it to school on the first day and leave it at school to work on at school. We won't be sharing devices. On September the 1st, kindergarten through 2nd grade will have parent-teacher meetings. On September the 2nd, our 2nd through 4th grade parent-teacher will have meetings. And September the 8th will be our first day for K2 and all of our remote learners. So on September the 8th, our 3rd and 4th grade will have remote class. And then on September the 9th, kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade students that are coming in person will be here at school, and we'll have school for all of our remote students. Before reopening school to in-person learning, our district had to meet the CDC and the Department of Education guidelines and recommendations. We are requiring that all staff and students complete self-screening every day. Parents should use the link on the district website under the COVID-19 tab to report symptoms or suspected exposure. Anyone who has symptoms will be sent home immediately. Again, this just says that all students and staff will complete the daily screening. If a student arrives at school, then they will be sent home. When students arrive by car, we will ask these questions to see if your child is feeling well, and we will do a temperature check. And if your child is fine, then they will go ahead and come in, get some hand sanitizer, and walk down to their classroom. For students that are riding the bus, then parents should do this screening at home. We will check temperature when they arrive, because sometimes children can develop temperature or a fever between home and school. So these self-assessment questions relate to the symptoms of COVID-19, and we want to do our best to try to keep everyone safe. There's been lots of questions about masks, and I know there are a lot of different kinds of masks. Masks are required by all students and staff except when eating and drinking. Face shields are not considered to be an alternative to a mask. If you have a face shield, then you would still need to wear a mask too. And this is really just to assure the safety of everyone. Our district is going to provide students and staff with 2 washable cloth masks, which should be cleaned routinely and replaced if damaged. Even though the Department of Ed and Maine CDC have slightly changed the guidance on social distancing to 3 to 6 feet, in our district, we are using the stricter guideline of 6 feet between students. We're going to be marking our hallways and our sidewalks and other areas to give a visual for students, and that will help minimize contact with others. This year we'll be doing a lot with hygiene, and one way to kind of think about hygiene is the 3 W's: wear a mask, wash hands, and watch distance. All employees and students will receive training in proper hand hygiene. All students and staff should sanitize their hands prior to entering the building, prior to getting on the bus, before and after lunch, after recess, and after using the restroom. This year, not sharing is caring. We're not going to be sharing materials in the classroom or while on the playground. And I know for kindergarten, that's one of the life skills that we want them to learn is how to share and get along with others. But this year, not sharing shows that you care about someone. Students will be provided with their own packet of materials. They'll have some type of a bin or basket with all of the things that they need for their school day. And not sharing materials will help us minimize the potential spread of the virus. Transportation. We heard Mr. Heffron, he is our Director of Facilities and Transportation, and he explained a little bit about transportation. This year, we're not going to be transferring students from one school to the other. We have customized routes to prevent students from different schools from interacting. These routes will remain consistent, and students riding the bus must wear their mask and sanitize their hands before boarding the bus. The bus driver will not allow students on the bus who don't follow these procedures. So that's something that everybody needs to be aware of and keep in mind. Students will social distance on the bus, and I recently heard that another term for that is physical distance, because we do want them to interact with each other socially, but we also want them to maintain a physical distance. Students will be assigned seats. If they have a sibling that rides the bus, then siblings may sit together. They will, when they enter the bus, will fill up the back of the bus first and move forward. And then the bus will be unloaded from the front to the back. While at bus stops, we ask that families keep a physical or social distance at bus stops. The seat right behind the bus driver will not be used. It will be open. We'll use every other seat. The driver will unload the bus using the bus radio. The windows will be opened slightly to improve air ventilation, and the bus driver will clean and disinfect the bus between uses. For arrival, parents will drive along the parent loop, stop, wait for a staff member to do the health screener and temperature check. The student is feeling fine, then he or she will walk into the building, use the hand sanitizer, and then walk onto the classroom. Then parents will continue to drive through the loop and off the school property. For dismissal, we'll provide signs with the child's name on it, and it will look something like this. You can put it in your car window so we can see it, and that will help us know which car belongs to which student. Parents will drive along the pickup route, pick up their child, and then drive off the school grounds. Parents won't have to get out of their cars. This year, we're not going to have parents actually take the clipboard and sign students out. We'll have the list of students and who is supposed to pick them up, and we'll do a check to make sure that each student is being picked up by the person that's supposed to. So we will be checking ID for new students, especially for new students or kindergarten students, because we don't know the students and the parents or the grandparents that might pick them up. For students that we've had for 2 or 3 years, then that's not as important. But if there's at any time, if there is someone that should not pick up your child, then that's something that you need to notify me, the principal, and the secretary, and the classroom teacher, so we can make sure that we are letting students go with people that they're supposed to go with. If a bus happens to still be in the bus loop, stay behind the bus. Remember to always give the bus the right of way. We can't emphasize enough to drivers to be cautious and patient so everybody gets to their destination safely. If you have a child here and at Mollyauket, then it would probably be better to pick up your child here and then drive to Mollyocket, because that would let a lot of the parent pickup traffic disperse from Mollyocket. And if you went there first, then you would be in line for a long time because they have a lot of students and a lot of car riders. It shouldn't take us very long to get all of the students dismissed. Please bear with us the first couple of days. The first couple of days of anything takes a little bit of time, but it should run very smoothly and quickly very soon. Our in-person learning. Students may be dropped off beginning at 7:30 and they'll go straight to their classroom. They're going to stay with their cohort or their class all day. We will have scheduled structured mass breaks. And as an administrator, I like to let teachers decide based on their students' needs in their classroom when they feel like their class needs a mass break or to have a brain break. And so teachers know that they have a zone on the playground that they can go to if their children in their class needs to go out. We will have a schedule similar to regular years with reading, writing, and math instruction and assessments. We will be assessing their learning and providing that feedback to students and to parents this year. As always, our focus will be on academics and social emotional well-being. We encourage our remote students to join their class for morning meeting and live instruction in the morning and afternoon so that all students can engage with their peers and maintain a sense of community. Teachers will instruct all students how to access instruction and assignments on Google Classroom in the event we need to transition to distance learning. We will continue special services like special education, 504, RTI for students that need it. The seating in the classrooms will be configured with a maximum space between students. We ask that students bring a full water bottle each day. Water fountains will only be used to refill bottles. They're not going to actually use it to drink out of. If you would like for your child to leave their bottle at school, that would be okay, and then they can fill it up. Students are going to eat in the classroom this year. They need to be seated. They need to keep their distance, and then they need to put their mask back on after eating. As always, sharing food is not allowed. We ask parents to send the food for their child. If you want to purchase a meal from the cafeteria, then we do have a cafeteria staff that prepare meals. All the meals that are served will be covered and individually wrapped, including the utensils. We will go out to recess. So you saw the sign that says our playground is closed. The equipment is closed, but recess is still going to take place. They will play in a zone. They'll use their social physical distance and play games and use hand sanitizer at the end of recess. We have one-to-one devices for students in K-8, and these devices will only be transported between home and school if there's the potential to transition to distance learning. So on the first day of school, your child would bring their device to school if they're going to be in person, and then they would leave it at school. That's just an example of what lines painted 6 feet apart might look like. Again, students aren't going to share devices or share materials. Common touch surfaces like desk, water fountain, the sink, water fountains, doors, light switches will be sanitized throughout the day. Normally, we have our special area classes of music, art, and PE every week. We have a different special class every day, but this year, due to the number of adults in our building and we wanted to limit contact to students, we scheduled our UA classes quarterly. So students will have PE, music, and art every day for a quarter of the year and then switch areas. At Brownfield Denmark, our schedule is PE, music, PE, and art. And our students will also have guidance on Friday. Students should only bring the essential items for that day. We will have an open house and some back to school events like tonight that will be virtual. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have field trips or assemblies or programs. And we were trying to get a volunteer program started, but we're going to have to postpone that for another year. We're not going to have sports or after school programming. Our restroom procedures that are established at school to limit the number of students in the hallway and restrooms, and the teachers will teach your children our procedures for doing that. Each child's belongings will be separated from others, and they won't be sharing games, books, toys, or devices. They will be reading books in school. After they have read a book, then whatever day this teacher has scheduled, they will put them in a bin and leave them there for the required number of days before they're allowed to be back in circulation for someone else to read. Students are expected to attend and participate in school, whether they're in person or whether they're learning remotely. Asynchronous learners will be marked absent if work's not done. Please communicate with your child's teacher and the school secretary regarding absences. We care about your child and we want them to be learning and continuing to learn, and we worry about them when they don't show up or they don't do work because we don't know if they're sick or what's going on. If a child has traveled outside the United States, if a child has traveled outside the listed states, they must quarantine for 14 days. Those days won't be counted as absences as long as the child participates in distance learning. If the classroom is required to quarantine, then that class will transition to distance learning, and then those days won't be counted as absences. So it's kind of like a win-win. Our focus, we've already done that. Our focus is on academics and social emotional learning. Students will access live instruction and assessments via Zoom, and students can access instruction and assignments on Google Classroom. I have a tickle in my throat. I've talked more than I normally do. If students are not feeling well and are unable to join us for in-person or remote learning, then we ask that parents call or email the teacher and secretary. We will be assessing our student learning, as I said earlier. Some assessments in reading and math are done one-on-one, and that can be done virtually. As a parent and a family, then you have a huge role in your child's education. We would like for you to continue to communicate with teachers and staff working with your child. Some of our classrooms, since we have a large number of students in the classroom, your child may have a different teacher if they're working from home. For example, I'm going to be working with second grade students that are working from home in the area of reading, and Ms. Nickerson will be working with students in the area of math. It helps when parents establish routines and expectations for their children when they're learning at home. You can do this by chunking the day into segments, and our teachers are doing that with our schedule. It also helps if you create a learning space for your child and have it quiet and free of distractions, and have a good outer. Having that space and working at a table can make a lot of difference for a child. If they're sitting on the sofa, it may seem more like playtime for a child. You can begin and end the day with a check-in and ask the child, you know, okay, what are you supposed to be working on today? What assignments are you doing? Encourage physical activity and exercise. We want your child active. We don't want them in front of a screen all day long. We do want them to join us for instruction and learning and to do assessments with us. But at the same time, we want them to have physical activity. You can establish times for a quiet time or a time for reflection. It helps. You can help students own their learning. Something that's really hard, sometimes it's hard for teachers too, is not to help students too much. Struggling can be very productive if it's not struggling too hard. So the teachers at the beginning of the year are trying to get to know your child, their students, and they're trying to find that perfect balance of what they can do, what they need to, where they and how they can push them to stretch them and to grow even more. On assessments, it's important not to help except to encourage them to do their best, because if a child gets help on an assessment, then the teacher may think that they have mastered that skill. In order to have smaller cohort sizes and to meet the needs of students and learning at school and home, our cohorts may have different staff members teaching. Your child's teacher will let you know when is the best time for like a phone conversation, or when they normally can check email because they are working and teaching all day long. So your child's teacher will communicate that to you. Enrichment can be provided in the form of engaging choice board activities. Our music, art, and PE teachers have provided suggestions. Think of those as more enrichment. It wouldn't be like a requirement or mandatory that students participate in music, art, and PE. We do intend to provide RTI support for students learning remotely as if they were here in school. If your child needs extra support, then we would need to meet with them virtually to do that. PKA is our after school program. They normally provide childcare with enrichment activities. This year, unfortunately, we can't provide the childcare after school care, but they are going to provide enrichment activities for free in the afternoon. And it will be available for all students. So look for information about that soon. In order to plan for the fall, parents were asked their preference for their child. The choices are in person 5 days a week or distance learning with instruction and assessment by staff. We felt like as a district that if we could physically fit our students in our buildings, then we wanted to provide that education to them every day of the week. Parent choice will be effective through December. We will have an additional survey in early December about the rest of the year. If a parent had selected in person and their conditions at home change and they would like to change to remote, that is possible. But changing from remote to in person, unfortunately, is not an option because that's much more difficult with transportation and cohort sizes and figuring all that out. Our parents and guardians will receive updates electronically. We will have to minimize face-to-face meetings this year. Any person entering the building must do a screening. If any answer to the questions is yes, then you would not be allowed to enter. If there is a scheduled meeting, then a parent would wear a mask and use hand sanitizer and maintain that physical distance. We will try to schedule all of our meetings virtually. And unfortunately, like I said earlier, we won't be able to have volunteers in the building. In the event that a student or a staff member tests positive for COVID-19 or has had exposure, we will work with the Maine CDC to navigate the situation and use their guidance. If someone tested positive has been in our building, that space will be shut down for a minimum of 72 hours and deep cleaned. We will use the feedback from CDC to contact all families whose child may have had close contact to determine our next steps. The determination to close classrooms or schools will be under the guidance of the Maine CDC. We have designated an isolation room for anyone with symptoms until they can be picked up. Close contact is defined as if you were within 6 feet of someone who has COVID, should be 19, for a total of 15 minutes or more. You provided care at home to someone who is sick with COVID-19. You had direct physical contact with the person, hugging or kissing them. You shared eating or drinking utensils. They sneezed, coughed, or somehow got respiratory droplets on you. All of this information has been in the information that's been sent home to parents and to staff. This information, all the documents, that this information is available on the district website. If you look at the bottom, there's a little picture of the district website, and the second tab says COVID-19. So you can click on that tab. That's where you would click if you answered yes to any of the self-screening questions. And if you have any questions, you can always email me. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I want to go over a couple of things. This year, we aren't going to have a print student handbook sent home. We'll have an electronic student handbook. Normally, we have this huge, thick first day of school packet. This year, you can access that information on Infinite Campus. That's our student information system. And you can go through the parent portal and update the information in the emergency contacts. You'll get more information about that, but I wanted to make sure that you were aware that that would be coming. One of the questions that was asked was about school supplies, and the parent wanted to know if we have a school supply list. It seems like it's been a long time ago, but last year we decided, early last year, we decided that the teachers would put all of the supplies in their school budget and not ask parents to buy school supplies and send in. And at the time that we made that decision, we had no idea that COVID-19 would happen. But since it did, it has actually been, I think, probably helpful to parents to know that they're not going to have to buy school supplies to send to school for their child. There was a question about school lunch and allergies. Occasionally we do have students with peanut allergies. We still allow children to bring peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We do need to know if your child has any allergies, and then we take strict precautions to keep students separated and so there's no risk or no danger to any of the children. One of the other questions was hotspots. Our district has some hotspots available. We would I'm sure they would give those out to parents and families that would are doing remote learning. They would probably get the #1 priority. But if you have spotty internet or internet coverage is a concern for you, then please let me know and I'll see what we can do to help that. There was a question and concern about dropping children off and them walking in the school. The video showed half of the school. We have a very small school. It's an absolutely wonderful little school. They can't really get lost in our building. They walk in the front door, and right in front of the front door is our cafeteria and gym. And then they go down the hallway, and the library is in the center of the building, and the hallway goes around the library. So it makes a loop, so it's real easy to find their way around. We will have extra staff on duty the first few days of school to help our kindergartners and our new students find their way to the classroom. And students always help each other too. Usually the beginning of school is always harder on parents than it is on children. Sometimes it's hard to open the door and send our little children off to school by themselves, but they always do a great job. If anybody has any questions, you can write it in the chat. Pat Menzel is our Director of Special Ed. She is here if there's anyone that has a question directed to special ed. Jay Robinson, our superintendent, is with us, and he said that we could purchase more hotspots if needed. So please let me know if internet connectivity is a problem for your family. So Sonia Logan said, the gentleman in the video mentioned that there may be changes in our bus driver. How do we know what time to be ready for the bus, AM and PM? The bus and car riders are not going to get to school before 7:30. They're fine tuning the routes now. So we should know in a couple of days exactly what time the bus would be by your house. The bus will leave school at 2:15 in the afternoon. So that would maybe give you a little indication of what time they would be home. But we should have more information about that in a few days. Will there be a supply list for distance learning? When we're asking when you pick up your laptop that you sign up for a time for the parent-teacher meeting, and our teachers are going to have your supplies and materials that your child needs to learn at home. Like the math manipulatives, writing books, anything that they would use in the classroom that they would need to learn, then the teachers are gathering that to send home to for your child. So another question about the supply list. I answered that. If kids can't use the playground equipment or share balls, what kind of play games do you envision for recess? We are looking at different options. We are looking at things like I know there's a lot of different physically distant type games. I've been researching some of that on the internet. Hillary, you are kind of an exercise activity expert. So if you've got some great ideas, please share with me. I would welcome that. But things like red light, green light, Simon says. I saw one that was like noodle tag. We talked about, maybe Miss Wentworth and I today talked maybe about something with hula hoops or balls where each child would have one thing to play with, and then it would have to be cleaned after that, and it would be just like for that classroom. So we're kind of still working and fine-tuning things to do it for recess, but recess is going to happen. We want them to be active and we want them to get some fresh air. So Hillary, if you've got some ideas, send them my way. Mr. Robinson said, we're trying to keep our bus routes as short as possible, around an hour, with a 7:30 drop-off time. That would mean a start to the route of after 6. We're meeting Friday to finalize routes, and we'll have more information at that point. Thank you, Jay. Yes, students are going to wear masks during PE. They will have times that they'll have structured mask-free breaks, and during those times, students will be farther than 6 feet. They'll be more like 10 feet, and they'll be calm and seated or in one spot, so there wouldn't be any chance of having their mask off and then running up to their friend, because, you know, they're kids and they like their friends, and that's probably what they would want to do. Students and staff safety is our top priority, and I know it's, you know, maybe not the ideal school year, but we're going to make the best of it and do the very best that we can. How do we set up an account for hot lunches or get more information? Are they allowed to have a charge account initially, or does everything need to be funded from the start? We can send information. Tanya, I think I have your email, so I will find that out for you. And normally what we do is we do a lunch count in the mornings, and we ask students who brought their lunch or who needs a lunch, and then the cafeteria makes lunches. So, but I can get some information from Miss Eastman and then send that to you. Any other questions? So if you're reading the chat with me, Jay said, for students learning at home, we're also planning on bulk purchasing supplies, and we'll find a method of getting those supplies to students' homes. Jay, maybe you can help me answer this question. Will there be anything offered for lunches for distance learners? I think we are planning on continuing to send lunches home. But let's see. Jay said he met with food service director today. We will use a survey for distance learners to find out who will need food delivered. It may be a weekly delivery or a pickup at schools as possible for families. So I knew that he was meeting with food service this week, and so that's new information for me too. So thank you, Jay, for being here tonight and answering some questions. Will students be joining in on the parent-teacher meeting? we would like for you to bring your child to the parent-teacher meeting. We are asking parents to bring, or the student to bring the laptop or the iPad with them. That the teacher's going to help the student get logged on to Google Classroom, and there is a code. They have to have that code to join the class. So Google Classroom is a closed environment. They're not just like out on the internet. The things that they do, they have to have the code, and they have to join, and then so no one else on the internet would be seeing their work.
Can I just add, Mary, that it's important that even kids who are coming in person be taught how to use that device, as well as the parents, because you're going to be helping and supporting the students. So learning how to use the different formats on their laptops or iPads is going to be important for all of you to learn in case we do have to go to remote at any point. Okay.
Right, and our goal is to teach our students how to be independent learners. We want the students as much as possible to be able to do it. And I know I've worked with kindergarten and first grade students, and I would have them using the laptops in the library and doing research. I had some first graders last year on Google Classroom. This was early in the year, in a computer club, and they logged on to Google Classroom by themselves after the first time. So they can do it. It's your job as parents just to give them that support and give them that reminder and give them the space and the structure to be successful in it. So, good questions. Thank you, Pat, for your comments. That was very helpful. I don't want to take any more time than you've already given tonight, but know that I'm only an email away. I check email all day and all night, so I get back to parents and staff pretty quickly, or as quickly as possible. So if you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to send me an email. If there's not any other questions, then we're going to end for tonight. Again, thank you so much for coming. It's great to see so many staff members and parents and administrators to join us. And I hope you have a great rest of the week. And I am looking so forward to working with your child and starting our new school year together.
Thanks, Mary. This was helpful.
Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording.